And welcome to a Friday edition of the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to find out about the programming we have available for you, 7/24/365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. And for the X Zone TV channel on Simul TV, simultv.com, and in the search engine, just type in X Zone. My guest this hour is a gentleman we've had the pleasure of having on the show before. Dale KACZMAREK is an investigator and president of the Ghost Research Society since its founding in 1977, and the author of Windy City Ghosts, Windy City Ghosts 2, a field guide to spirit photography, illuminating the darkness, the mystery of spook lights, field guide to ghost hunting techniques, and field guide to haunted highways and bridges. If you'd like more information on Dale and his team, as well as the Ghost Research Society, visit their website at www.ghostresearch.org. And Dale, welcome back to the X Zone.
Great to be here.
So what is new in the world of ghosts and the investigations that you and the other members of the Ghost Research Society have been up to?
Well, we had a very busy 2019. We went to quite a number of different places. Mm-hmm. We always tend to do about 25, 30 cases a year.
Right.
Usually during the summer months. Kind of crams in a lot during just a few months here. And we went to a number of interesting places this year, including one of my favorites I've been looking forward to seeing for a long time. It was called Lake Shawnee Amusement Park in Rook, West Virginia. It's an old abandoned amusement park that had a lot of interesting stories and a lot of history about the Shawnee Indians living on the property before, and this Mitchell Clay family who had a very early homestead on the property and unfortunately was a victim of a partial Indian massacre. At least many of his children were killed. And so it's thought to be haunted not only by the Mitchell Clay family, but there are a lot of Indian remains actually found on the property. They were actually excavated by archaeologists throughout the years. We had a chance to be out there pretty much the whole day, all evening long, and investigated quite a number of different places. There was a number of untimely deaths that actually occurred on the property when it was actually an amusement park. There was one child that got backed into by a truck and was crushed. Another one died in a swimming pool accident on the property, and yet another one died in the lake. So there's been quite a number of untimely deaths on the property, and that's one of the areas that we note that there does seem to be some connection between ghost and untimely death. Whenever you have the two together, it's often an indicator that there could be something there. And we spent the entire night there doing EVP sessions, just going out with a lot of our new equipment that we had, picking up some very interesting interactions. We use this device that we call a Phasma box, which is it's a Windows-based unit. It's an application. And I know what people are going to say it's an application, but we've had some remarkable results with this, actually giving out full sentences in response to questions asked. And we were actually in an old school bus that was on the property that was actually part of a haunted house attraction that they do about every year for charity.
Sure. And
we were in there, and we were just asking questions, and I was there with my two friends, Bob and Tim, and people can go to my website and actually look up Lake Shawnee on there, and you can actually see where it actually says "Hi Tim" and "Hi Bob," and that's pretty cool because they're pretty common names. But I mean, to have those two in the bus with you and have their names called out, it felt kind of a little bit, little hurt that they didn't call my name out too. But unfortunately, my name's not a very common name, and we had other things happen throughout the evening. We had some different fluctuations in our equipment. It had a lot of EVPs we had. I probably wish I would have investigated much more of it because it's a pretty extensive area. There was a number of acres of property on the land that we could have explored, including where the Mitchell Clay family is buried, an area where people have actually been pushed out of a concession booth. There's a ticket booth where people used to buy tickets for one of the amusements, and people would go in there to get their pictures taken and feel hands on their back and being literally pushed out of the room, flying out of the location. We didn't have a chance to, unfortunately, investigate all these places. But we kind of coupled that investigation with another one we did in St. Albans, which was a sanatorium in Radford, West Virginia. And that was a pretty amazing, large building. We investigated, again, pretty much all night. So we were very busy last year.
It sounds like it. Now, you were mentioning this app that you used, and yes, I agree that there are some people who, do not understand that these apps are quite effective. No matter what the app is, whether it's a business app or a photography app, they really work. So what is the name of this app that you tried, you got the results that you did, and how does it work?
Well, it's called the Phasma Box. And it's basically, you can get it through extremesenses.com. I get my little plug there, but I got a number of their applications. They seem to work really well. This one in particular, what it uses, it employs a bit of internet radio mixed with sound banks and a reverb and echo effect. And the idea is that the spirits are able, in some way, shape, or form, to manipulate what comes through the device, sometimes in response to questions. Now, we've got some very good examples on my website where we went to two in particular. I'll give you very quick examples of. One, we went to a casket factory in Elgin, Illinois, and it kind of dressed it up for a kind of a walk-through haunted house around Halloween. And they had a kind of a fake fuse box on the wall. Now, we were using a device called a structured light sensor. It's one of those devices where it shows something up, something shows up in the mapped out area. It'll show up as a stick figure. And there was a stick figure standing next to the box. So I immediately said, well, if you're standing next to the box, can you touch the box, throw one of those switches? A voice came through and it says, "It doesn't work." And I go, well, that's really amazing, because it wasn't just, it was there for effect only. We went to another place. We went to a cemetery in Indiana. It just had a sign. There were no graves out there. We asked a simple question: how many graves are out here? There was a short pause. A voice comes through very clearly. It says, more than 100.
Is this common where you actually have a conversation with spirits and get these answers, like the stick figure who knew that the electric box was just basically a prop, and when the other spirit in the school bus knew the other two names? Is this common?
It's becoming more common. I see. I mean, throughout the years, I've been doing this since the middle 1970s. I've actually seen the progression throughout the years and the decades of the paranormal equipment getting better and better, and more scientific, and much more able to capture and get scientific readings, and in some cases direct responses to questions. And many of these real-time devices that we do use now, whether it be the Phasma box or the obelisk or the ghost boxes or the mini portals or things of that nature, they give you the opportunity, rather than in the past where you used to simply ask a question, leave some blank space, ask the question, leave some blank space, and then later play it back. Here, you can actually ask a question, and in some cases, not all the time, but in some cases, and becoming more often than not, you'll get some kind of response. Now, it may be kind of an off-the-wall response, but doesn't make any sense, and I often attribute that to like a child playing with a new toy. They have to learn how to manipulate the device before intelligent responses begin to come out. And then we might get a word that comes through. We might get an entire sentence that comes through. There are many examples on my website of entire sentences coming through that make perfect sense to the questions we just asked.
And we've got to take a break here, Dale. But Exonation, go to Dale's website. It's a fascinating website. You'll be able to hear the examples that we're talking about here and a lot more. Once again, Dale KACZMAREK is our special guest this hour, and his website is ghostresearch.org. That's www.ghostresearch.org. And Dale and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Exonation, my guest this hour is Dale KACZMAREK, and Dale is with the Ghost Research Society, and his website is ghostresearch.org. Now, before we get back to Dale, I'd like to say hello to Larry Lawson, who is the host of Paranormal Stakeout, who is in the hospital. And I found out only earlier today when Larry sent me a message on MSN Messenger saying, "Hey, buddy, sorry I've been out of touch, but I nearly became a real investigator on the other side." And basically, he was telling me that he was in the hospital with something quite serious. He's back at home resting now. So, Larry, get well soon, my friend. And thanks for the heads up. Seems that there's a lot of strange things going on these days. Last night, I had Gloria Prima on the show, who is a scientist. She's written a book called It's All Light, and she's trying to make the connection between science and the paranormal. One of the very few scientists, to my knowledge, that are doing this. And Dale, you and I were talking about the advances that are being made in equipment that you and other paranormal investigators are going to be you're able to use right now. What is the most exciting piece of equipment that you and your teams use?
Well, actually, I picked up a couple of brand new pieces of equipment this year that I'm very excited. I haven't had a chance yet to actually debut them. One is actually a red laser grid. Now, that in itself doesn't sound it sounds pretty ordinary because a lot of people have laser grids.
Right.
But this one has a lot of different features. First of all, it will allow you to track not only what you might pick up as far as the distance. It'll tell you how close it is to the detector device. It'll also tell you the temperature of and the direction of which is traveling, left or right, up or down,
wow,
diagonally. And the really neat feature is it's got a little box of LED lights on the detector. So if something goes through and breaks the beam, the lights will light up and show the configuration of what just went through.
Wow.
So if it shows up like a figure or an animal or something else, it'll actually show it up, and you can actually videotape it and record it. That is a really neat feature. It's called a GS2 laser grid that I just got a hold of. Not very expensive. I think it was $250, $300. But that's very exciting. Another one I'm very interested in using this year as well is a thermal tablet, which works much like a flare system, forward-looking infrared.
Right.
Except this is on a tablet. It uses what's called a Seek device to pick up the differences in temperature and so forth. So I'm looking to use that a lot. Not so much to pick up cold spots, because you really can't detect cold spots with that unless the cold spot or the entity or whatever has some mass that the device can then reflect off and send a signal back to it. I also picked up a pair of infrared binoculars, but these are a little bit different from the ones I've had in the past. They illuminate about 300 feet away, and they give you the opportunity to actually take pictures and videotape what you're seeing at the same time, which is then loaded onto a little SD card, which you can then pull out and put on your laptop for later examination, which that's a very interesting feature. So a lot of neat things coming out. Almost every year I find something that some I call them geniuses, that's out there in the paranormal field that are building just basically for the express way of examining ghosts. I mean, that's the only purpose they have for them. Unlike when I first started out, many of the devices you had to kind of adapt for other purposes, like K2 meters and cell sensors and other devices that really were made for not picking up ghosts, but just picking up energies. Now everybody seems to be out there, a lot of people, especially in the paranormal field, building devices specifically designed for ghost research and ghost detection, which I think is very refreshing.
For the listening audience who may not have had the opportunity of hearing you on the show before, how did you get started in the paranormal?
Well, I got started way back probably as a child. My parents and grandparents telling me ghost stories as a youngster. I never had a paranormal experience as I was growing up. In fact, I had a very uneventful childhood. But later on in life, after my parents and grandparents told me these stories, in fact, many of them right in my neighborhood in and around the Chicagoland area, I later began to go out and to explore some of these locations to find out if the stories I had heard were real, were they, urban legends, old wives' tales, fabrications, folklore. And that's what really got me started in the field. And, of course, starting out in the 1970s is just like starting out back even a century earlier, except for some of the features. You don't have a lot of equipment. I mean, my basic ghost hunting arsenal was a cassette tape recorder, a 35 millimeter camera, and my EMF detector was a compass, because a compass should point to true magnetic north, unless it comes in contact with a strong magnetic field. So I was very limited in what I could do. I was shooting a lot of infrared film, which I have a lot of good examples on my website of images that I had captured back in the late 70s with infrared film, things that were not visible to the naked eye that later showed up on the film. Pretty amazing. And it's very hard to find that type of film. Of course, many people nowadays use digital, so they're kind of getting away from that film. But I just got interested, involved with a bunch of like-minded people back in the 1970s. We founded what was then called the Ghost Trackers Club, and I worked 5 years as a research assistant until 1982. We changed the name to Ghost Research Society, and I became the lead investigator of the group, and just from there it just kind of blossomed. Began writing books, traveling across the country and doing investigations, and now that's pretty much what I do full-time since at least 2009 when I retired. So retired a little bit early, 56, so for the past more than 10 years I've just been doing this kind of full-time, which is really nice. Travel all over the country, do investigations, and talk to a lot of people, do a lot of private homes, private businesses.
Yeah. Is there a difference in the frequency, or are you noticing a difference in the frequency in which the contact is being made by ghosts or spirits with investigators? Is it like they want to be identified, they want to make contact?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've noticed this in places that are... Many times we're the first investigators, and that's what it's always unique, being the first investigators into a location. And there's been a number of places we've been to that nobody else has been to. And going into places like that, there may have been ghosts, hanging around for, centuries or decades or at least many years. And you are the first people to go in there to maybe communicate with them. And they're very willing to talk about themselves, sometimes give out information about names. Maybe we don't normally get into how he died, because, again, that's a kind of an area that if you believe that ghosts are around because of an untimely death, they may not actually realize that they have passed on. So we just try to hold a conversation with the spirit, just like me and you are talking on the phone, and if that doesn't work, then we try to do like role playing. If we're in a hospital, in an old hospital, we might be dressed up in doctor's uniforms and maybe trying to operate on patients, or just make-believe operations,
Sure.
that is. Or, if we're in a Civil War location, we might have Civil War trigger objects or things of that nature. And these are ways that can better your chances of getting something, because you're interacting with ghosts and objects that they recognize from their time frame. Civil War bullets, money from that period, even playing what I call trigger music, music from that time period. Say if you're in the Roaring 20s in Chicago, you might be playing something from the Roaring 20s, or during the Big Band's era, you might be playing something from Tommy Dorsey.
Sure. Well, it makes a lot of sense.
It sure does, and I think a lot of these spirits, they kind of they recognize that, and they're more willing to kind of open up about themselves and get information about themselves out. And sometimes we'll get nothing, sometimes we'll get a lot. It really varies from place to place and where we're at. But this year, I know we're going to be, again, as usual, very, very busy going to places. One of our places we're going to be going back to again this year is Gettysburg, the site of the Civil War battle in 1863. We've had a lot of success out there in the past.
I've got to take my commercial break. I'm really enjoying our conversation, Dale, so please stand by. And Exo Nation, if you'd like more information about Dale KACZMAREK, and if you'd like to visit the website of the Ghost Research Society, the website is ghostresearch.org. I'm Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone, and we have to take our news break right now. But if you'd like to check out the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. The X Zone TV channel on SimulTV on the search engine at simultv.com. Just type in X Zone, and all our programming is there. You can even, I think they even put up little clips now of the different shows we have up there. And, of course, the X Chronicles newspaper is always free with our compliments at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. I'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. Dale KACZMAREK is our special guest this hour, Exo Nation. He is with the Ghost Research Society, and their website is ghostresearch.org. Dale, what do you think about these people who go in and they actually seem to taunt or to challenge the ghosts? Why do they do that?
You might call it provoking, actually. That's what we like to use the term. We have never provoked. In fact, I think it's, in some cases, very disrespectful to go into a location and to provoke a spirit that might be there. We get a lot of our evidence without even having to do that. So I know some of these TV shows on TV do that. There are a couple, I won't mention their names, that are very known for provoking. They seem to get some results, but again, it's a TV program, so you're really not sure. They're like reality TV shows, I like to call them, not truly what the field's all about.
Right.
But I think that when you go out to a location, you should be very respectful of spirits that might be there. Again, like we do, try to just talk with them like me and you are talking, try to get information about why they're there. Maybe they don't realize that they have passed on. Just generally converse. My real purpose of going out to these locations is to try to gather evidence. Obviously, I like to have an experience myself. I mean, a lot of people would probably run if they had an experience like something tapping them on the shoulder or something appearing in front of them. But these are the kind of things I live for, is going to places to literally see, experience, and bring back evidence that I can say, we've collected as far as video, audio, pictures, or just personal encounters at locations, and
Right.
I try to share those on my web page and also my YouTube page. I have a Facebook page as well that people can go to, the Ghost Research Society on YouTube. They can also find me on on Facebook and on YouTube. So I think that, again, getting back to provoking, it's just something that we just don't do. We get plenty of evidence without having to provoke, and I think we get a lot better evidence. I think sometimes if you provoke and you're disrespectful, and then you get a kind of a negative response back, well, then you've kind of asked for it, pretty much. The spirits are maybe not so happy that you're doing that, and they might kind of lash out in one way, shape, or form.
Is there a connection between the type of investigation that you do? I've always thought you're a very credible person, and you're very logical, and I love the way that you and your group go out, and the respect that you show is amazing, because I've had guests on this show, and I'm not going to mention their name, but everything about them is demonic.
That's
Is this
something
showmanship?
that I've noticed too, unfortunately, and it's a shame because I see so many of these TV shows. Again, I'm not going to mention the names, but they're on mostly on the Travel Channel here in the States. I've been on the Travel Channel several times myself, but when I first started out, I mean, it was looking for the possibility that there was life after death, and that was my big reason for getting involved, and also trying to prove one way, shape, or form that ghosts exist or don't exist. And you don't always have to go after something that's very negative. A lot of these TV shows, when they first started out, they were literally just investigating what I would call ordinary ghosts, or like a Casper type ghost, a friendly spirit, a disembodied spirit of a once living person like you or I that's for some reason hanging around location. But I guess for some reason that wasn't enough for the TV sponsors. They wanted something more sensational, and this is what I truly believe. They want something like the Amityville Horror, like blood coming out of the walls, people being literally chased out of their homes, people possessed, people being scratched, being attacked, their hair pulled, pushed down the stairs. This happens so rarely. In fact, it's less than 2% of the cases that are normally investigated. Of course, if you put these TV shows together, it's probably about 80% or 85% of what they show is negativity and demonic stuff. I always believe that like attracts like. If you're going out looking for something like that, you're going to find it. We screen our cases very, very carefully. When I talk to somebody, whether it be a stranger, a person who's got a business, a home, or a big venue that's haunted, I let them tell their story in their own words, but then I ask certain questions and kind of rule out what I believe to be, or at least kind of get an idea what's going on. And if I believe that there's something negative, demonic, which very, very rarely happens, I would then suggest that they go to get somebody that's more seasoned in demonology, or maybe go to the clergy and have the clergy step in. It's something that, obviously, if I know something that's very negative that I've interviewed, why in the heck would I want to go jump in with both feet to a place that's very negative? I mean, it's just not what I'd want to do. And I think these shows, that's what people want to see. You wouldn't believe how many times I get people, TV shows, producers, writing me, texting me, emailing me, or whatever, and saying, we got this new show, but this is what we want. We want people being driven out of their homes, people being attacked, being possessed. I said, well, I'm sorry, you got the wrong person. I just don't come across that kind of phenomenon.
I remember years ago, like this is our 30th year doing this show, and when the show first started, like you said, it was kind of Casper the Friendly Ghost. But then as the movies came out and the mass media was able to get a taste of the excitement, and I agree with you, reality TV is anything but reality. It's, it's television like any other media. is geared towards numbers. Now, I would rather try and get the best numbers I can by giving an honest and two-sided interview without the sensationalistic props and the made-up stories just for numbers. But
well, that's why a lot of these shows that came out that I was on decades ago, like Sighting, Unsolved Mysteries, That's Incredible, things of that nature. When I was on those shows, and I was on those shows multiple times, even one TV show from NBC called The Other Side, which is a daily paranormal show. I was on that 3 times. We went to locations that were haunted, and what they were more interested in seeing was how I go about an investigation,
right,
showing how I set up equipment, so forth and so on. And if we got something paranormal, well, that was an extra. That was the icing on top of the cake. Now these TV shows, they expect you to have something paranormal. And in my opinion, I think a lot of these shows, they make you fake stuff if you don't get stuff through a normal investigation, which is really sad because I won't be on a show that asks me to fake evidence because it leads to my credibility.
Yes, that's right.
And my reliability as being a straightforward investigator.
As well as the YouTube channels that are out there. I've seen some of the YouTube channels where I'm looking and I'm saying, you've got to be kidding. Are you on crack? I guess and yet there are people who are getting into the aspect of the paranormal who go to YouTube and they see all these out of this world paranormal investigations going on and they believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's buyer beware. That's what I always say. If something looks too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. They have a show on television now called Paranormal, Caught on Camera. And I've seen a lot of these things where they show all this stuff flying, doors opening, cabinets being lifted up, right, and silverware being thrown away. I'm going, huh? I mean, wow. I mean, somebody's got a lot of strings they're pulling and a lot of special effects because for that to happen like that, all in a span of a few minutes, it's asking too much to believe, literally. And I've seen a lot. I haven't been in a poltergeist case like that, but to see that much poltergeist phenomena, I mean, it's just unreal. It's just too much to believe.
But it is sensationalistic, isn't it?
It sure is, and that's what people want to see. It's sensational. They want to see stuff that is almost too good to believe, because they figure, and this is where the main thing comes in. They see it on TV, so because it's on TV, well, it's got to be real.
Of course, of course. Dale, you and I have to take our final break. Let our listeners know how they can get copies of your books, because you've got some great books there.
They can get to me on various ways. They can contact me at my regular email, which is simply Dale, D-A-L-E, at ghostresearch.org. They can go to my website, ghostresearch.org, or they can check me on Facebook. I have a Facebook page and a Facebook page for my Ghost Research Society, and all the books are listed there and on the website.
All right, Dale, stand by. You and I have to take our final break, and when we come back, we're going to be wrapping up this hour here in the X Zone with our special guest, Dale KACZMAREK, from the Ghost Research Society. And once again, his website is, you ready for this? You got your pencils and paper? Ghostresearch.org. Dare to believe, dare to be heard. Monday through Friday here in the X Zone from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern. And for all the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net and the X Zone TV channel on simultv.com. Dale KACZMAREK is our special guest. He is with the Ghost Research Society, and their website is ghostresearch.org. First of all, Dale, I want to thank you so much for joining us. It's been a great hour here with you, hearing about the advances in paranormal technology, as well as some of the cases that you've worked on. But when it comes to Gettysburg, that to me apparently seems to be the mecca of the paranormal in the United States. Why do the ghosts remain there?
Well, again, getting back to that idea of untimely death, just think of what happened during the war between the states.
Yeah.
You had literally people standing up 30, 40, maybe 100 yards from one another, just standing up and shooting at each other.
Wow.
And going down in big rows of, when cannonballs hit it, or shrapnel and so forth. The poor sanitary conditions, amputations, gangrene, dying, being left on the battlefield, just all of that put together literally is a feeding ground for ghosts. I mean, I have literally traveled through, almost hate to brag, but almost every major battle of the Civil War, especially east of the Mississippi. And I've come across quite a number. I've investigated several places, including Gettysburg, Antietam, Fredericksburg, and a few others. At night, was able to get out there after hours. But Gettysburg is one place that always seems to draw me back because of the amount of people that were there. You had 80,000 people on the Union side, 75,000 on the Confederate side, and that town only held about 2,000-3,000 people. So you can imagine how many. You get 155,000 people suddenly there fighting, and horses dying, and people just being left on the battlefield. I think the spirits that are on there, again, that many of them maybe don't even realize that have passed on, have a story to tell. I mean, you hear cannon fire, you hear musket fire. I've actually seen horses, just visual apparitions at night of horses walking along the trail, and they don't take horses out at night. I've smelled cherry pipe tobacco. I've seen strange lights. I've had experiences through EVPs out there and disembodied voices. So these places are great. It's one of my favorite places to investigate our Civil War battlefields, and we're going to be going to a couple of them, including Stones River, which is down in Middle Tennessee. I'm going to be meeting with a police officer that actually had an encounter out there, and hopefully try to recreate what he had, and maybe even be able to videotape it this time. So I always tell my people that are out there listening, that's an easy gimme if you want to have a good chance maybe picking up something. Go to a Civil War battlefield or Revolutionary War battlefield or someplace like that where there's been great loss of life. Apparently
the asylums and hospitals are also a hotbed of activity.
Absolutely. Hospitals, prisons, sanitariums, places like that where there have been either violence perpetrated on other people by other patients, or in some cases in prisons where people have died or been killed by their other inmates. Hospitals, obviously, another great place because of people that die in hospitals all the time. But I mean, mostly the trauma. People that come in, they're gunshot victims. They're, they have some untimely way of leaving this earth. Maybe it wasn't, it was an accident, perhaps. Maybe they weren't supposed to leave the earth when they did. And those are the ones, again, that sometimes are just kind of like in a self-made purgatory. They're between two worlds, and they're just waiting for people to kind of seek them out and communicate with them, and that's what we've been doing for many years now.
Well, while you were talking, a question came to mind. If these spirits are staying behind, what does this do to the concept of reincarnation that some people believe in?
Well, I'm not sure. Reincarnation, again, is just basically reincarnating, just going in from one body just to another life, and people that have had past life experiences or have been regressed actually tell about their previous life experiences, not their future life experiences, but their previous life experiences. And I think ghosts are a little bit different. I mean, I think I've read a couple of books on reincarnation, including one by my good friend Rosemary Ellen Guiley, who just passed just recently.
Yeah.
And it seems like what I've read is those people that reincarnate, they reincarnate by just dying a natural death, at least the ones I've read about. It's not so much the untimely people, the untimely death. So maybe that's where that mix comes into play.
Got about 5 minutes left. What has been your most favorite, out of all the years that you've been doing paranormal investigations, your most favorite paranormal investigation?
Well, that's asking for a lot, isn't it?
I thought so.
I would say probably one of the ones I really enjoy doing, and I've been there about 3 times, is Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia, a 256,000 square foot building. I actually had some direct communication and an experience where a ghost actually touched me, which not happens that often. We were in an isolation ward. There was a female patient named Ruth who did not like male patients. I was investigating that location with 3 female investigators, which is very important to note. I was the only male investigator there. Suddenly my hand felt like it went to sleep. My hair stood up on end, goosebumps all over. The other 3 females felt nothing. No recordings, nothing on the temperature gauges, and then something literally grabbed my butt cheek.
Wow.
A cold hand, and you can actually see it on the link that I have on my site. I spun around. I was a little shocked at first, but I just kind of said, bring it on, because I wanted to experience it again. And again, those females felt nothing. We were doing an EVP session. I asked, do you want us to leave, or do you want me to leave? One word came through, you, which made sense, because I was in an area where she did not like male patients, male visitors, doctors, orderlies, whatever. So I think that is a location that literally I heard at least and recorded 9 disembodied screams during the first time I was there, which you can hear about 8 of them on my website, the more louder ones that were very audible as we walk through.
And that's at www.ghostresearch.org. How can a ghost that is basically invisible touch you?
Well, I think it's the energy
that
the ghost is exerting. Basically, when a ghost is manifesting in an area, it leaves behind a cold spot, a wake of coldness in the air. They use the heat to manifest, we believe, the heat being energy, molecules moving together, creating friction, creating heat, and that's what they use. They use the energies from our bodies, from our batteries to also manifest. And sometimes what we're experiencing is actually the energy, the physical energy given off by these spirits that come in the form of a touch on the shoulder, a brush on the hair, a grab on the butt cheek, or something like that. I think that's what we're really experiencing, is that energy.
If one of our listeners tonight would like to become a paranormal investigator, what should they do? What are the do's and what are the don'ts?
The big thing is I would always suggest somebody finding a research organization or somebody who's been doing it for some period of time, not an expert. I don't think there's any experts in the field, but people that have more whiskers, so to speak, and join that organization, kind of go along with them for a while and experience what you can experience, learn from them before you go off on your own. I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to create their own group, never having investigated before. They make a lot of mistakes. They watch too many TV shows, and they get into many bad habits as a ghost investigator. Join a group that's well established, and I think you never go wrong.
Do you give courses as well, Dale?
I sure do. I do courses on ghost hunting techniques. I do. I have one on spirit photography, one on EVP. We're going to be putting some of those actually up on my site sometime this year. I'm actually recording a bunch of YouTube videos and how-to videos that people can actually look at, which is kind of a smaller cram course, but then if they're more interested, they can always check me out when I'm doing a conference or doing a workshop in the area, and I always put that information up on my website.
You know, the time has come when you and I must say so long. Again, thank you so much for joining us. And let our listeners know one more time how they can contact you and find out all about your organization.
Sure, they can get me on my website at www.ghostresearch.org. That's ghostresearch.org. Or they can get me on my email at simply Dale, D-A-L-E, at ghostresearch.org. Or check me out on Facebook.
Dale, thank you so much for joining us. Take care of yourself. Continued success, and let us know if you come across anything startling, interesting, or out of this world. We'd love to hear from you.
I sure will. Thanks for having me, Rob.
Take care, pal. Exonation, and once again, if you'd like to get more information on our guest this hour, Dale KACZMAREK, www.ghostresearch.org. Now, I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Niagara, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.